Welcome to Real Kiwi Fishing. So tonight I'm down off the bays doing a solo mish surf casting, and I've got a high tide around that 8 o'clock, so it's pretty perfect for that high tide. I've got a couple of high tide spots along here, along the bays. I've got some easterlies coming in the next few days, so I'm hoping what's going to happen is the fish are going to come in, feed up before it gets too rough, and yeah, I'm just going to sort of lob out here into the weed and a bit of rock in front of me, hopefully get a few fish. What I like to do along the bays when I find my high tide spots, I actually come down on the low tide and I walk out in front of where I'm casting, and I find like the weed beds, the rocks, the kelp, the holes, the sand and all that kind of stuff, where I think the fish will be feeding, those holes that get kinner in and all that kind of stuff, so I know where I'm casting and where the fish will be. And what I do is I line up basically on the land, on the cliffs, tree, whatever, to mark where I need to be on that high tide. So that's one thing that I like to do, finding my high tide spots along the bay. So yeah, just get down there on the low tide, have a scout round, have a good look, and try and figure out why the fish will be there. So yeah, hopefully get into a bit of fish tonight. So yeah, solo down the bay surf casting. Probably can't see, but got a heap of kahawai just working up here out in front of me. And a couple of big splashes, could be kingfish in amongst them there. A few terns working in there as well. But yeah, a few kahawai there. Actually caught one already. But I've had a couple of good hits as well, and I think they were snapper. So yeah, it's looking good. So I'm just using using pilchards at the moment. It's quite good to use pilchards when you first turn up, and it sort of helps sort of burley that area. Fish come in, sort of smash it around a bit, and it just lingers out and sort of forms its own little burley. See, I like to start with pilchard. I've just got a little running rig of a ball sinker, just to get out far enough. I know where the kelp is and the rocks, so I don't want to go too far or not far enough, so yeah, don't have to go too heavy. I know it's not too rocky out there, so I've gone a little bit heavier on the sinker. Normally I go floating baits, but I know I've got to get out a little bit further than probably where I'm chucking a floating bait, so yeah, that's what I'm going to start with. So I'm getting a lot of little bites, and I knew I would. This time of year, especially along the bays, you'll always get bites even through the day. So I'm not expecting too much to happen while it's light. I'm hoping as it gets a little bit darker in the evening and the bigger ones will come in, start mooching around those rocks that I'm casting to. So yeah, hopefully as it gets a bit darker, we'll get onto the fish. So I had a little bit of a grab then, and you know, that can always happen even through the day. You get the odd one or two good grabs. But what I like to do is, you know, I try not to move the line around too much, the sinker and stuff, get caught up in the weed. So I just let the fish bite, and as it gets a bit of a bow in the line, I just sort of slowly wind it up a bit with using the bail arm. And I just sort of keep a light bow in the line, so it's not real tight and pulling the bait towards me and getting caught up. So that's what I normally do, is just let the fish bite. If it gets a little bit slack, just wind it up a bit, bring the rod back and then back down, and then wait for that strike and bang. Yeah, so hopefully yeah, it's pretty cool getting bites. So you know, it's great just being out here, even if you're not really getting much. So I've had a couple of real nice hits, and I think there's snapper, and I've missed probably about 2 or 3 now in the last 3 baits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a keeper hook. What I find down here off the bays, fish aren't huge, and using quite a big hook sometimes just, you know, it's too much out of the bait or something like that. So what I'm going to do, yeah, is run a keeper. And what's sort of worked for me in the past is using the keeper here. Actually, I don't know why, I miss quite a bit of fish sometimes, and just, yeah, using that keeper changes it. You just start catching them. So I like to start with a single hook, obviously, because I'm in around the kelp and the rocks and stuff like that, so you don't want, you know, too much things in the water to snag you up. But if you're missing fish, and especially good grabs, like they're grabbing, not biting, you just got to change your game. So yeah, basically staying with the same rig. This little ball sinker. Now I'm going to run a keeper hook. Hopefully that works for me. So there you go. Going to run the keeper. So you have obviously the main hook down at that fatter end of the bait, and then your keeper at the end there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll do the trick, because I've missed a few nice fish. Got a beautiful evening. Wind's died right away. Nice and calm. Not a lot happening. There's a lot of little fish on the pilchards, and I've got a bit of squid, but had a couple of good grabs. I call it a little Kahawai, which I've used for a bit of bait, and nothing's sort of taking that at the moment, but that's what you sort of chuck out and wait for, those big grabs. But yeah, beautiful evening. There's a few workups here and there, nothing major, but just love surf casting off the bays when it's like this. calm, no wind, just the sound of the waves, maybe the singing of your reel. But yeah, I'm not expecting too much to happen until probably still another sort of 20 minutes, half an hour. Have caught a few little snapper around that 30 centimeters. But I might go back to the pilchards for now. And I just got a bite on there. Getting a couple of bites here, we'll see what happens. Had a couple of little taps on that. I've actually got 2 rods. Brought one down to you know, have something like Kahawai on it and just leave it out. Hopefully a big one comes along. The other one you can just keep flicking your pilchards and your squid, because that'll normally just keep the burley going. It'll also keep the bites coming. Make it a bit interesting. But awesome time of day, just perfect. Coming up to high tide, getting later in the evening. And normally the fish come in here and just start mooching around on dark. They actually do quite well at dark along here. Sort of get those smaller fish during the daytime. But hey, even if I don't catch anything, it's still great being out here doing it. Thanks for watching another great day out fishing with Real Kiwi Fishing. And you can also find more of my movies on my YouTube channel, Real Kiwi Fishing.